Okay, Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, Kat, no problem.
Cool, cool. So we will start, and we'll be waiting for more people to come after the this lunch break, right? So basically, today we have the Q&A session with you for 45 minutes. By the way, guys that are participants, this is the message to you. We won't have the behind the scenes with Richard, as we will be discussing the questions right now. The approach is the same. We had the form with the questions. You had the possibility to ask. We have a lot of questions to you, Richard, right now about social selling, about pushing the products and services in social networks to the US market, to the UK market, etc. So we will start with the questions with the form, and participants may ask you more questions here in Q&A block. By the way, guys, if you want to ask, if you want to write questions in Russian or Ukrainian, that's totally okay. We'll translate to Richard. You'll get the answer. Right. So don't worry, Richard, if you'll see a lot of Ukrainian or Russian letters here.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. So let's start with the questions from the form, and possibly the first one. Question, but before this question, I would ask you to explain what, in your opinion, what is social selling and how it could be used for sales.
Yeah, I think it's a really good way to start to define social selling here. And what we're talking about in simple terms is the use of social platforms in order to sell your product. And the kind of a secondary definition under that is to use a process of, for want of a better word, warming an audience or warming a set of people or warming individuals through relationship building in order to sell, as opposed to cold outreach that we might do, for instance, through phone calls or just knocking on doors.
All right, cool. Thanks for the answer. By the way, I forgot to mention who are you basically. So Richard is the sales coach and digital engagement expert from the UK. He was mentioned in like great medias like Forbes, INC 99, etc. And today we're talking basically about social selling and how to scale it, how to nurture and how to sell with this approach. Second question that we get from the form, how to make social selling scalable?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. Some things just won't scale. And what it means is some elements of social selling you've got to do manually, but some parts of the process you can automate, absolutely. And I think there's a combination of things. So systems in place where you receive people's emails or opt-ins and things like that, that's very simple to automate into sending them through forms or surveys or questionnaires if you choose to. If they sign up to things, putting them, using things like Zapier or other pieces of software to capture information, put them into an auto content sender and an email system and things like that. But at the front end, social selling, you've got to be really careful about where you choose to move from automation to manual. And the reason why is because it relies very heavy on you engaging with people in a way that they feel like that they can build trust with you. They feel you're actually authentically there. And this is about building organic, proper human relationships that can allow you to essentially leverage that level of trust you build to pivot into maybe a phone call or something like that. So the automation can absolutely happen in terms of things like identifying prospects or targets or profiles on places like LinkedIn. And also in terms of for some, there's no problem with the first outreach message going to them. A word of advice here is that in 2020, social selling has actually moved and evolved even since 2 years ago. And so what you have is far more success, for instance, where people will use a VA or someone who can put in contextual keywords into a first message sending to a new connection, as opposed to the same templated message using bots every single time. It's far more important in 2020 to recognize a particular element or thing about the individual you're targeting. So if I'm targeting 20 people, each message should be slightly different, tailored a little bit more to something they do, because it doesn't feel authentic enough otherwise. So it's a balance. This is actually a really important question, because in a world where we have a volume of people we can target, you know, hundreds of millions, if not billions on different platforms, the temptation is always to automate. The temptation is to work with the fact that we have such a volume of people we can reach out to that we might as well just go crazy on the automation process. But it's dangerous, because the truth is that people have evolved now to a point where they just don't trust anything that doesn't feel real and human. So you need to pivot pretty much right after that first message, especially for the higher ticket offerings, to more of a manual approach where you take the control and you engage with people directly in actually typing things. So we just got to remember that although we love the idea of automation and you know, not working as much as we might, you do tend to find that being effective is far more valuable for your business than being efficient. And what I mean by that is it's far more effective to engage one-on-one manually and individually with people than it is to try and reach a volume, but with more of a generic approach. You just simply don't get the returns by comparison. And I've simply proven that myself.
All right, thanks for this. Basically, we have a lot of guys here from small and medium-sized businesses.
Right.
And, you know, the founders of these businesses, their own brand is not that big. And here is the question from this: how to build a brand of company without you know, big personal brand of its founders? Is it possible at all?
Are you asking how to build a brand without having the person at the front and building the brand of the company instead?
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, it's a question that comes up a lot. Obviously, the ideal is you take the person at the front of the business and put them in the limelight, and because it always is more effective when you have a human that allows people to associate and relate to, and it is, if you can, that's the better way of doing it. And some of the most successful businesses have that. Amazon has Jeff Bezos, SpaceX has, and Tesla have Elon Musk, and so on, and Richard Branson from Virgin, for instance. But it totally is possible. And the main thing to think about is the kind of vibe that you are going to try and give off. So even if you're not showing a person, or you should still express yourself as a business and as a brand in a certain way. A really good example of this, of a business that's built a brand that doesn't have the person in front of it, is Innocent Smoothies. A bit like Ben and Jerry's ice cream as well. Ben and Jerry are kind of, they show up here and there, but mostly these are simply not faceless corporations, but they simply are led by the name of a company and a logo. But the reason why people really love them is because of the way they're speaking to us. So rather than being just informative and giving us valuable formal information on their products, on the food they're selling, it's much more fun and playful, and you know, there's little Easter eggs on the, I don't know if you get them elsewhere, but here in the UK, Innocent Smoothies, the actual packaging has little Easter eggs on it, like little things and little jokes and things like that about the formal stuff they've written on it. And that kind of vibe over time really does help people. And in terms of content, you can take a lot of cues from that. You can totally represent your business without being a face physically there, but you just need to have the personality you would otherwise have coming through. Basically, the less formal you are, ironically, the more people are into you as a business. And that's simply because you've got to remember, people are going to want to relate to you on a human level first, rather than before they're going to be a customer or represent their job title.
Cool, thank you.
I'm targeting the human before I'm targeting their job title.
Thank you. Thanks for this. The next question, we'll probably divide this question into different questions.
Okay.
So, but this is the related topic. You'll understand. So the first one: how do you nurture? What content do you recommend to nurture your potential clients or partners with?
Yeah, so there's two things to think about here. One is what trends really well is simply hacks and tips and how to, because what you're doing is you're positioning yourself in front of them as the expert, as the person who understands that space best. And what happens is if they watch you enough, they naturalize to the idea that you must be king or queen of your world, and therefore they will tune into you for more knowledge. Another thing to think about, though, in terms of content, and certainly in terms of how you write your copy and how you speak to people, is you also want to challenge beliefs, and you want to show them there are new ways of thinking that are intuitive and impressive. And when a reader or a viewer gets a penny drop moment, as they're known, those moments when they're like, oh, wow, I never looked at it that way before, they're associating that kind of eureka moment with you. And so what you want to do is try and give these kind of things where people question things that they know to be true, maybe not necessarily all the time, but it's a good thing to do, and align those things with the values you stand for and the kind of the things you're all about. And as a result, you do get people saying, like, sometimes being quite divided, but those that side with you and agree with you and love the ideas, they really lean into you. Now the receptivity is up, and now the ability to engage with these people is far more realistic.
Great. And logically, the second part of this question about nurturing your existing clients and partners, either to upsell if it's one time, like, payment, or if you have the recurring payments, to get more retention. And by the way, if you want to share the screen and show some cases
Right.
or examples, you're absolutely free to do this.
Okay, fair enough. So what we're asking here is, how do we nurture existing clients? Especially now when we are locked up at home and unable to engage with people as much as we could, regular touch points are important. So every client should be hearing from you at least once a week, even if that's a quick drop in. We're in a world now where people are kind of getting the hang of sending a direct message to each other and things like that. And I have plenty of CEOs and managing directors who are clients who are in their 50s and beyond, who are fine with the direct message thing. So just staying close to them. And the other thing as well is remembering that with the work you do for them, you always have to be the measured, unflappable, steady hand. It's not just about what you're saying, it's about how you come across. Because in a stressful world, especially right now where there's uncertainty and worry and fear and things like that, whenever they hear from you, they must feel, wow, well, Richard's got this. Richard seems to be in control. At least for the part of our work where we use Richard, it seems he knows what he's doing. And that is one of the biggest ways to keep people feeling very nurtured. It really, really makes them feel like you've got at least that part of the work kind of under control. So regular touch points and making them feel relaxed. Don't share their panic. Be the measured, steady hand. It's one of the biggest things people can do to relax someone who's maybe panicking or worrying about things. And then moving forward to things like upselling, you should always be talking about where they're going in the future. And I work a lot with the idea that, when people work with me, often it's for, say, 3 months to begin with. But if we're having a great impact, I will often say, look, I don't feel comfortable with letting you go on your own and dropping off and not doing as well. So look, let's make sure we're rolling out for 12 months instead. And nothing beats knowing you've got monthly recurring revenue for a whole year rather than just from 3 months for people. And you get that by earning it. A month in to a month and a half in, you get that by getting people saying, wow, I'm really finding an impact with working with you. And that's the point where you say, well, look at where we've come. The last thing we want to do is go back. So I'm not comfortable with us working only 3 months now. It really makes sense for us to go for the whole year. Let's do that instead. And if you've earned it, people are like, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. We've got you in our corner. Let's do that. And I do this with pretty much every one of my companies I work with, and I end up with them being there long term. So you can enter each month as a business knowing that you've got that renewal, the set of renewals coming in rather than kind of people dropping off from working with you after every few months, as far as is possible.
Cool, cool. Let's bring some more value to our participants. So could you make an overview of the tools that you use, first of all, for content planning, if there is any, then for to track the efficiency of your posts, and also the sales tools that you use to basically close clients or track their activity while they interact with your content?
Yeah, good question. So these are the kind of things we need to get fairly tight with. And excuse me, just to be clear, the work I do is I work with consultants to get them clients through LinkedIn. That's not just looking cute with nice content, it's actually helping them close stuff as well. So in terms of the content, we don't over plan too much, because things are happening organically throughout the week, and that often can represent content I'm going to share. But there's two big takeaways so that content doesn't become a huge burden for people who are listening here. And because I recognize a lot of you are probably very time poor, right? So number one thing I do is I have what's known as pillar content that we repurpose. For me, it is a live stream I do every Monday. So for now, it's almost 4 years. Every single week, I do a live Q&A on startup businesses across all the platforms. And my team look at that hour of question and answering, and they grab bits of it to make my videos. So if any one of you check out my LinkedIn videos, that is all coming from that one piece of content. So rather than me making more and more and more pieces of content throughout the week, because I don't have time, it is one big bit of content. And for you, you do a blog post, okay? And then what you do is you create what's called micro content. So I have the hour of video, then I have a couple of 1-minute videos that get pulled from that and posted later in the week. You might write an article, for instance, and then take a few snippets and then make those into micro content throughout the week as well. So don't just post one thing once, take parts from it and repurpose it to post throughout the week. Now, it's very straightforward to do, 5-6 days worth of content. You only need to post once a day anyway. The other thing I do, as well as having a team help me repurpose it, is I recognize that after 3 or 4 months, so I have to put in a while to start with, but after 3 or 4 months, all content pretty much is in what's known as the graveyard. No one is looking at your content after many months. So you can go back. Places like LinkedIn, it works fine. They don't penalize you for this at all. Go back, grab that content that performed really well, or even content that misfired and didn't do very well when you had less of a following. Grab it, post it again. All the top people repost great content from the past. It means instead of trying to find a piece of content every day of the week, I maybe can do all but 2 days. And then those 2 days, maybe Wednesday and Friday, I can grab previous content. Last night's video, for example, was content that went out almost 5 months ago. So no one remembers it. No one's seeing that old content. So I'll repost it. And 5 months ago, I probably had almost 10,000 less followers. So it makes sense for me to post to this new set of people. And the other thing I'd say, just to finish, is to think about creating evergreen content. Most of my content can be posted at any time. The call to action at the end, so the suggestion, like answer this question in the comments below, is also evergreen. It means it can be used again and again in the future. If at the end of the video I say, make sure you sign up to my webinar happening in February, then it's not really something I can repost. So just think about a call to action as well, and content that's relatable to any time of the year. So right now, you maybe don't want to talk too much if you're doing video about coronavirus, or if you are going to repost in the future something about coronavirus, then you simply write in the supporting text, way back when coronavirus was happening, here's something I produced. No one minds if you repost, as long as you bring them great value. Let's look at the tools as well. My team and we're simple and old school. This is crucial for everyone to understand. You can be bristling with apps and websites and productivity tools, but you can actually get to the point where you have so many of them, it gets ridiculous. So we keep it super lean. We engage with each other most days, like my video editor or my researcher, just by WhatsApp or by Instagram Messenger. That's all we use. We use actually Google Drive just to have everything in one place. And in terms of producing content throughout the week, that is their job. So it's like, don't spend cheap on rubbish people who could maybe just edit a video or who might be okay at writing content. It's worth spending the money on someone who can do the lot. So my video guy, his job is to look through the live stream, find the video, make the video, and then send it to me and I'll post it. I don't want to hear from him until I get the video done. His job is to work it out. And of course you help them to start with to understand you, but you want to be able to completely outsource this stuff. That really matters. And in terms of sales tools, I don't use Sales Navigator. A lot of people ask me, do I use it on LinkedIn? I use LinkedIn Premium. The reason why is I've actually found LinkedIn Premium is absolutely fine. The price point is considerably lower and I get more than enough in terms of potential leads and things like that. With social selling, the onus is not on making lists of people to pitch. The onus, instead of on chasing people, is to lay reasonable things for or exciting things for them to come to you about. So great content, being optimized and so on. That's the thing that really helps. So if I share the screen now, this will just kind of show an example of that. If I need to be, I think I need
stop
to
sharing
shown.
my screen and you can turn your screen off on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I share now. So can you see my profile okay there?
Yes, we do.
Cool. So I've optimized the profile. So remembering this, the process in social selling typically is great content that is well distributed, so you get lots of people looking at it, means that a lot of people will be curious about who you are. So the big thing you're trying to leverage is human curiosity. If people are curious, they will click on your name and look to your profile. Who's this Richard guy? That was quite interesting. People will be doing it today. Who's this guy I'm listening to on the Sales Hero conference, for instance? So when they look at the profile, you need to reward them or validate the decision to look at your profile with the information they need. So at the top, I've optimized the cover image. I do a lot of content. I know that my top of funnel, so the reason why people will then start falling in love with me and wanting to work with me comes from content first. So I want them to follow Rich Tips as a hashtag, but I also am very, very clear on what it is I actually do. Nothing shouts amateur like not having a cover image, okay? Go to canva.com, it's free, C-A-N-V-A. I made this in about 5 minutes. Picture of me, I know I've got a photographer, fine, but a picture of you, stick it on and write what it is that you want to help people with. And what the thing you want to help people with is the thing you want them to pay you for. So I'm really clear about the problem I solve and what it is what I do. So a really simple formula, something you can all do today is take this formula. I help X achieve Y using Z. I help job title achieve outcome using method. I help consultants get clients on LinkedIn using sales and content. Okay. And then I've got a call to action, message me to learn more. Most people won't, but most people don't need my service. Some people will, and they're the ones I'm really interested in. The rest is all optimized, so making sure I've got a good bio that is clear, it tells them a story, it makes me relatable. That are the kind of sales tools I need, because when people check that, they want to get in touch with me, and then we can go from there. As in terms of CRMs and things like that, a simple spreadsheet, there's nothing wrong with that if you're doing high ticket selling. Otherwise, you want to find some way of drawing out all of the leads into more of a robust CRM, and that has to be your choice. The answer to which CRM you should be using is purely based on the kind of product you sell. If I'm selling something where 600 units a month will be shifted, well, then I need to have a robust CRM for that. If I'm trying to do high-end consulting where I need 8 clients a month, well, then I don't need a big end CRM at all. It just isn't necessary. So you need to be proportionate about what you're selling. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, that's totally okay. Look, if in the UK and the US, you have LinkedIn as the great channel for selling, especially for social selling.
Yeah.
Here in Eastern European countries and CIS countries, we still have Facebook as our dominant channel for selling.
Yeah.
For a B2C products or services, also Instagram is great, right?
Yeah.
So how do you suggest to build up the strategy for the Facebook and Instagram in comparing with Facebook? In comparing with LinkedIn, if you are selling here in Europe and to the CIS?
Yeah, really good question. I remember well, actually, like 10 years ago, using LinkedIn when I was a sales director at a headhunting company, and the more central countries, so the German-speaking countries like Austria and Germany, they use Zing. They culturally didn't use LinkedIn that much. So it was totally right to think about this. Firstly, think to yourself, can I still approach those buyers through LinkedIn? Because everyone is on all of the platforms. B2C, yes, more on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, and B2B more on LinkedIn. But if they're still on LinkedIn, you can speak to them in a certain way. But to answer your question directly, the approach I've taken, it works really well with Instagram, is you share content for them, but you run ads against content. So the ads aren't to try and sell stuff. The ads are to drive greater visibility of just high quality content. So adverts are no longer, hey, buy this thing, hey, register for this webinar, or hey, opt in for this email, or download my ebook, or whatever. It's check out this awesome piece of content. And it is simply giving out content. And the reason why is because the distribution on those two platforms, the amount that they drive out your content to new people, is far inferior nowadays to something like LinkedIn. The algorithm on LinkedIn is far more generous. But also, if you look at, say Facebook, it's trying to be, and rightly so, I think, as of a couple of years ago, Facebook is totally focused on being pure social, which means it is designed, and it has to be publicly as well, the place for you to hang out with genuine friends and family and share pictures of your wedding or holiday or whatever. That's what they want to be. So if you want to sell, you better pay for it, is what they're saying. So that's why you have to have a business page. Ads on business pages is not going to do as well unless you are very good with spending money there. You can run groups though, and that's what I would suggest. So running ads against content, so spending money to drive or boost or drive posts on Instagram, and have also a group on Facebook is probably the best way to go. So since 2015, I've run my own group on Facebook, has 4,500 people in it, called the Entrepreneur Business Group. And literally every day I bring them some more value, All of my events around the world, we stream them to the group. So if I'm in Miami or in Melbourne, we stream the events to the group, so they feel like they're getting so much. Mm-hmm. That's the way on a B2C platform you can get like people moving slightly away from just looking at pictures of their cat and into a kind of a group. Well, you know, that's what it is. Moving to a group where it's like more like-minded individuals, and for want of a better line, you can kind of farm more effectively there. So it's more intense, and the people there have shown a bit more interest in that kind of world. So that's what I would suggest is best. Mm-hmm. With Instagram, with Facebook.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move to the types of the content, because this is a really painful point for us. Basically, so let's start with the first question about the content. What is the ideal, in average, the ideal balance or share between the inbound content, like a couple of blog posts, top 10 things, listings, etc., and salesy content? For example, invitation to my webinar, to my events, like what else could be a communication, like the hello, this is minus 30% discount on my service, etc. So what is the balance between them?
Great question. And this is, if I may say, the way we used to think a few years ago. It's like, maybe I should do like 10% or 30% or something like that. I actually never do a post that is out and out buy my thing, ever. Instead, I gently feed it into a value-based post. So for instance, the best way to sell in a weekly newsletter that gives value to your email list is in the PS. So you give them loads of value, and at the end, PS, there's this thing. And only the people who read to the bottom, so the ones who really care and are really into it, are the ones who would pivot out. When you do the offer, just the offer, they all run for the hills. And again, it's just because we are so conditioned to not want to be sold to, that no matter how good your offer is, unless they're so massively bought in, they tend to not want to engage. A great example was 2.5 weeks ago, I rolled out a new flagship product. It's a high ticket product. It's a accelerator for LinkedIn. And the post I did, I wanted to make sure, it was an ask, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't scaring everyone off. So rather than saying, there's this new thing and these are all the benefits and you should do it, instead it was more humble. And that's the tone you need to have. So rather than I'm launching this, it's I'm so excited to share this. And the main feeling of the post was thank you. I just want to thank everyone for their support whilst I've been building this. It really means so much. So I'm kind of saying I'm selling this thing, but the majority of the focus is a thank you kind of thing. That post got like 16,000 views in a day, and I got hundreds of people engaging with it as usual. Okay, so I always get thousands of views of my content every day, and no one ran away. So the majority of the people who weren't going to buy were like, well done, congratulations, we're rooting for you, really love what you're up to, Richard, I'm sure it will really help people. And a few people were like, oh, awesome, I'm in. So the truth is you do have to have an ask, but the ask should be subtle. And probably one of the best examples, as well as that one, was on Monday, just this week, so 2 days ago, I did a poll. A LinkedIn poll is this new feature, which is perfect for generating leads. It's got 300 votes. About 120 voted for the thing I can sell people on. So it was very cleverly done, but it was just simply asking people what their opinion is. And then in there, just there was one line about how I've been speaking to so many consultants about my LinkedIn Client Accelerator, and these are some of the things that came out of it. And so I just dropped it in once. There was no, at the end, by the way, if you want to buy it, come and get in touch with me. It was just, what do you think? Why don't you put your vote in and tell us some more? But I dripped that little bit of honey. I planted that little seed. And then in the comments, as like a PS, I wrote, by the way, if you want to learn more about the accelerator, send me a DM saying me please, and I'll send you some info. So rather, because I've been involved in sales for 17 years now. If you want to get it right, you don't give them too much. So I wouldn't give a price point. I wouldn't give a discount. I wouldn't give anything other than if you want to explore or learn more, the wording is just send me a DM saying this, and I'll share some more information. And of course that DM will pivot, or the direct message will pivot to you saying, hey, thanks so much. Why don't we hop on a quick 10-minute call and I can explain how it works, and then you're off. So that way no one feels like you're spamming them or selling them. And those that would want to buy are being asked if they want to step forward, and they tend to that way, and in a nice, fulfilling way. So the answer to your question is none of them directly actually do that, because it's going to kill your audience. So we've got to be more elegant in 2020.
So just on the bottom line, we have that with the help of social selling, you do not sell directly. No direct, no straight call to actions, just like the smart funnels, etc.
Correct.
All right.
There should always be a call to action on a post, though. But the call to action is for engagement.
Engagement, not selling.
Yeah, it's like, what's your opinion? What do you think? Because if I get people saying, this is a really good point, Richard, I think this, and I struggle a bit with this, but now I've got a lead. Take them into the DMs and go and work with them there. Don't do it in public. That's the way to look at it.
Yeah, cool. So the next question about the content is pretty, another like pain point here, because personally, I see a lot of posts that both in LinkedIn, on Facebook, and Instagram that are just business style. Let's say you're a sales coach, and only that I see that you are like making pictures from the events, posting like your thoughts on for example, Straight Line from Jordan Belfort, etc.
Yeah.
But I don't see lifestyle content. Like I don't feel human. I don't feel the personality of this sales coach. So how do you suggest to connect lifestyle content with the business content, and what should be like the share of them?
It's a really good point. So Instagram is easy. You got posts for the content, you got stories to share lifestyle, and just kind of you can be yourself. This is why you have to push yourself to, you don't have to, but you should try and push yourself to dabble with some video. Because the thing about video is you can be formal and you can share tips and things, but they get a sense of who you are. And so the human can come through without even sharing stories. They just get your vibe. And what you're doing is you're coaching the subconscious of the viewer of what it would be like if they worked with you. They're basically making judgments as an animal. They're making judgments on, do I like this guy, or do I think he's a bit of an idiot? And that's not a conscious thought. It's just they make those judgments. And the more you do it, the more familiar they get with you. Just like if we watch a show on Netflix enough, we feel like we almost know the characters. And so we feel like we kind of know the celebrities. And you're like, oh, I'd like to hang out with that person. You don't know them at all, but you have a sense of who they are. And that familiarity is where trust comes from. And no deal ever happens without trust. You have to have that first. But to your point here, I think it's really important to be cool with your level. So for instance, I never share my children on social. There's no rule about whether you should or shouldn't. The people who put their children on social media with them, like there's plenty of business coaches that do it, they're sharing that part of their world. So the billionaire Sarah Blakely, who built Spanx, who's just an amazing entrepreneur, all of her Instagram stories are her baking cookies with her kids. And she's just letting you into her world, but that's who she is. And if you're not like that, then it doesn't matter. But the main thing is to not be too formal. The irony in business is that humans want to buy from humans. If they like you and think you're cool or kind of fun or just generally a good guy, they're more likely to buy from you than if you're wearing a suit, pointing a laser pen and running formal slideshows all the time. There's a time and a place for that. And pitching, I've spent my career pitching very senior people in multi-billion-pound companies. They want you just to be chill. The more formal and straight-laced you are, the people, like, they can't access the human. And so you may be being informative and useful, but you've got to kind of come through a bit as well as a human. So don't worry is the answer about like, oh man, I've got to like take pictures of my dog and stuff and like make jokes. It's like, you don't have to. Just be a bit more relaxed, be yourself. And again, that's why video helps, because you're just there as you, and it doesn't feel like it's forced or contrived or anything like that. Live video is best if you can bear to try it. And just one final thing on that. Everyone, when they try anything for the first time, sucks at it. Remember when you all started walking? You were all rubbish at walking, sorry. But after like 8 or 9 times, you're like, I'm kind of getting it. Same here. When you do video, you'll suck. So no one cares because no one's watching it. You're laughing because I'm right though. After 8 or 9, you'll be fine. But if you choose, now this is the serious bit, as a business owner, if you decide that your emotional feelings matter more than how your business grows, well, that's why you won't try video. Oh, but I'm scared matters more than my business thriving. I don't do Instagram selfie videos in the middle of London where everyone's looking at me like, who's this guy? I don't do it because I think it's fun. I do it because it helps my business. And after a while, you get the hang of it like anything else.
Cool, thanks. So let's move to a more easier question, but at the same time, really that value a lot. So are you expanding your connection, for example, on LinkedIn with the help of direct messages? And if yes, could you share with us a few examples of how you write those direct messages? Like, you know, your algorithm of connecting and writing those messages.
Really good question. Firstly, there's a fail-safe way of doing it pretty much, which is the people if I wanted to connect with you, Oleg, then what I would be doing is going to your profile, finding your content, and across a couple of days, I'd be writing comments before I've even sent a connection request. Because what happens is I've come to you to show my interest in your stuff. Your content's your baby. And so you're like, oh, that's so nice. Thank you, man. And so you're engaging. The comments should have a meaningful comment. So something useful about what you've written or shared, tagging you so you get the notification to come and look, and asking some kind of question or saying something that stimulates a response. Because the point is to start the process of conversation. If I do that literally twice, then you're going to accept my connection request. In those instances, all I need to do, and by the way, don't use the mobile app, use the desktop website version, because if you use the mobile app to send a connection request, it just connects straight away. If you use the desktop website version, when you click connect, it suggests you write a note, which you must. The note in that instance would be, hey Oleg, it's been cool hanging out on your content. Let's connect so I can do more. And you will always say yes, because I'm that guy that's been showing up for your content, making you feel good because you're getting more hits and likes and nice comments. You see what I mean? So that's kind of a fail-safe way of doing it. But when you connect with people, you should always write a note. And that note mustn't be the boring stuff. So not, hey, I saw that we do the same kind of thing. I'm trying to connect with like-minded individuals. Boring. And all of us know what those ones look like. Or something like your content popped up in LinkedIn, or LinkedIn suggested your profile and I'd like to connect. Usually what you get is, sure, connection accepted. End of conversation. The point of the connection request isn't just to get the connection, it's to start a conversation. Otherwise, you just add connections. And if you have a load of connections, it means nothing. That's like owning a phone book. Good for you, you've got everyone's numbers, but there's no relationship. So you have to drive and stimulate a conversation by leading. So you ask something useful. This is why the first question earlier about automation is a difficult one to answer, because in truth, you should be writing something like, hey Oleg, love that piece of content yesterday on that thing. Or if they don't do content, I saw you did this thing. Or if they're a business leader, they should be somewhere on Google, right? So, and if they're not, why do you want to connect with them? You should be wanting to connect with people who are doing stuff. So find them on Google. Saw you did the ice bucket challenge on Twitter, or I saw you did a cool TikTok, whatever, literally anything. That sounds really good. And then a question about their thing. Not, have you ever thought about improving your sales process? Just stupid, because no one wants to be sold to. You have to earn it. So it starts with like asking a stimulating question that you could not ask anyone else. It's clearly written for them. And that's what I would rather do. Instead of sending out 300 of those a day and clearly getting your account stopped, it's more intelligent to do 15 where you've actually put the time into writing something meaningful, because this is never, ever about volume. It is always about getting actual impact. One extra kind of leading piece of information you should know is that if you send an in-mail, which is like these LinkedIn connection emails you can send internally, it allows you to write quite a lot. But the problem is it actually looks quite formal. And when someone receives something that looks formal, their brain tells them it is formal. And in the same way as when someone gets a long DM that looks spammy, it means it is spammy. Even if it isn't, it now decides it's spammy and it will act in a certain way. When you send an email, it's too formal. It looks like you're going to try and pitch. I don't want to be pitched. I'm just going to ignore it. So use the connection note. You only get 300 characters, but that's good. It means you keep it short. Never pitch. You will always fail. And those that are watching right now go, no, I've done a deal. Sure, 1 in 200. But you're annoying all these other people. So do it properly. It's way better way to go. So that is the process. So hey, like, hi, keep it nice and like, hi, Oleg. Love that you did this thing. Like, mention, like, show that I've shown an interest, and then ask a question, curious about this out of interest, about the thing they do. how long have you been doing? Or find something that you've got in terms of commonality. A couple of other things, look for mutual connections. If you've got them, leverage that. Look for literally anything where there's commonality. Are you in the same place? Am I in Ukraine? Am I in, are they in London? Have they gone to the same university? Anything at all. Or mutual connections is brilliant, because when someone gets your connection request, if they decline it, LinkedIn now, just like Facebook, puts a message at the top of the screen. Do you know this person? If you didn't know this person and you click on no, I don't, a little flag flips up against your name. Okay. So you don't want people going, no, I have no idea who they are. And it's less likely if you have a bunch of mutual connections. So the worst message you should send, which is still good enough, is, hey, Oleg, I saw we have it's crazy, over 300 mutual connections and we're not connected yet. That's madness. I would love to connect and hear more about what you do. How's the lockdown going or whatever. Something nice and friendly. Don't be too formal, because formal gets okay, fine, you're in my group and that's it, and I'll get on with my life. It needs to be, oh, thanks, that's really nice, and then go from there. That's
cool, thank you. We have about 4 minutes before the end of our session. So another simple question about follow-ups. Do you follow up people, or do you work more with the blog posting, so they will engage with you and they remember, oh, we had some kind of business or some kind of conversation and I should get back to this?
A lot of it's kind of memory, which is a bad answer for you. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear that there's a process, right? There's nothing wrong with a good spreadsheet, honestly. And what I find, I have a spreadsheet of every single stage. If I've done a message, they've gone in the spreadsheet. If I feel there could be a deal, they've gone in the spreadsheet. The next column, yes or no, have they replied? It's so interesting to have that, because then you can see where they are in the process. Just refer back and see where you are. It's a really good idea to do something like that. But I do have this sense of who have I been speaking to recently? I want to make sure that I'm drawing them in through content and staying close to them as much as I can. So I need to have something, even if it's a bit of paper, who are you speaking to at the moment that seems to be showing some interest, and just circle back. But in terms of deals, all the deals you'll ever do, the statistics say that 10% of the deals you do that are coming in just come in because you close them. 90% of the deals you will ever do are because of following up. So you must follow up. Okay, so that's so much money you're leaving on the table if you don't. So it's crucial just to swing back. Just because someone doesn't get back, it doesn't mean they're not interested. Mostly, almost all the time, if someone doesn't get back to you, it's because they meant to. They even if you see their little icon, they're it's oh, they've seen it, they've not responded. Usually it's oh, I'll get back in touch, but they forget to. And they're doing something else. So give them a nudge. Hey, how's it going? Just thought I'd catch up and see what you think about this. Just something, or write something new. But follow up. You should always follow up without question.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. We have the last question from our co-organizer, Yuri. So go ahead.
Hey,
hello,
nice
mate.
to meet you.
You too.
It was very awesome, super great content. It's
You're welcome. We did a lot in 45 minutes.
Yes, about repost evergreen content is wow.
Absolutely, it's really important.
I have previously a question about less formal. You talked a lot about this, but whatever. I have another question.
Okay, go for it.
By now, I'm doing LinkedIn automation with Dux. Trying to ask people to come to Sales Hero community. So I do not sell anything. I just tell them hey, hello, I'm organizer in this community. We talk, we share our experience. Would you like to join? So I do not give any URLs, any links.
Yeah.
I do not sell them anything. And how do you think, if it's okay, or how can I reach these people? Because, it's like automatization. I do not have really time. I have a lot of time to answer all these questions, second question and so on. I do by myself, but I do not research before. So how
That's a really good point. So if you are going to go direct like that, make sure that message has got benefits in it. Here's why you should join. Not, hey, we do something relevant. Would you like to join? Because you're asking them if they want to join something they don't know if they want to join yet. So rather than that, it's like these are the outcomes you get. The group does this special thing. You don't have to list all the benefits. Don't try and cram them all in and make it look crap. Do one major benefit, like the thing that really stands out. Is that something you'd like to explore? Is a really good call to action here. Not would you like to join? Is that something you'd like to explore? However, an optimum way of doing this, actually, Yuri, instead of going straight for the ask first time, is to be even more under the radar and even less, like, I'm not saying this is a threatening post, because yes, you're not selling them, but you are asking on the first post. So actually you'd find you can perform really well if you're asking them for their opinion on something. It's a really nice 1-2 step approach. So what my clients would do, and be careful with Duck Soup, as you know, I don't use it, but if you want to use automation, just don't go mad because you'll go into LinkedIn jail. But basically, the first message I send is something along the lines of, hey, I saw that you do X. You don't have to research it. You're using Duck Soup to identify the job title or the industry or location. I'm researching this thing. Just wonder what your opinion is on it, because you do have time to deal with the replies, right? And so if you got someone coming back going, really good point, actually, I do this, or I believe this, or this is my opinion, because everyone loves sharing opinions, then that's a good way to say, that's awesome, thank you. Do you know what? We actually have this group that talks about this a bit more. You know, if you're interested in joining, here's the link. Asking second is far more effective because you've earned a bit more right to do so rather than straight up front. So maybe try that.
Thank you very much. It's awesome. I will try it for sure.
Split test it.
Yes, I will test for sure. Thank you very much, Richard.
So thank you, Richard. Thanks for your time, because we like one minute like after our yeah, okay. So by the way, one of our attendees sent you the request on LinkedIn. His name is Alexander.
Okay.
And he asks whether his request is boring or not.
Let me look right now. Can we do that? Is there time?
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's have a look. Let's put him on under hotspot. So Alexander Romaniak.
Yes.
Hello, I liked your talk on Sales Hero. The reason why he does well with that is because he's saying something specific. But he should add a call to action. Obviously, I'm going to accept him because I can't decline him live in front of everyone. That would be funny. But so it's fine. His job title's right, his position's right, and that kind of thing. But I love your talk on Sales Hero. You can't say to everyone. You can say it to me, and I'm like, cool, the guy's interested. But add something else. I mean, it's fine. Don't worry, you got it. I'll accept me. I'll accept you right now. But the point here, Alexander, is in addition to the specific thing, add something else like, this thing was most interested, or ask a question. How long have you done that out of interest, or anything? But something specific like that will always draw the eye, because if I get loads of messages every day from people saying, oh my God, I think you're amazing, it's like I get bored of it after a while. I want someone who says something specific. It really stands out a bit more.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Richard, for joining us. That was like really cool piece of content for our guys for social selling. So I like, this is the message to the attendees. Go to Richard's LinkedIn profile. He has a lot of Q&A, similar Q&A on Mondays, right? Live.
Yeah.
So watch for his blog post. Do you have any kind of bonuses for our guys for just,
yeah, actually, I think right now there's a huge discount. So on Udemy, the course website, which is like the biggest course website in the world, if you look at LinkedIn Basics courses, I am the highest rated course in the whole planet. Over 10,000 courses, I am #1. So my course is really good. And Udemy loves to screw the instructors. So they always have like a 70% discount. I think at the moment in euros, it's like 12 euros or something. So if you search for basics of LinkedIn, I get paid nothing, but you guys get you get the best course on Udemy for LinkedIn. So you can jump in and do that. But otherwise, yeah, I'm more than happy to connect with people. And if everyone writes through Sales Hero in their connection request, then that's fine. And go copy the profile. That should hopefully help you lot as well.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Richard. Thanks for joining us. So let's keep in touch.
Yes.
And that was really awesome. Thank you.
Cool. No problem. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.